Hello everyone, my name is Natаша Vasić and I will be your English teacher today. Today's lesson is about question tags. In order to understand question tags, we need to answer the following questions. First, what are question tags? Then, when do we use them? And finally, how are they formed? Let's start from the first question. What are question tags? Question tags are short questions at the end of a statement. We use a comma to separate the question tag from the sentence and the question mark at the end. Dakle, question tags su kratka pitanja na kraju izjavnih rečenica. Koristimo zarez da odvojimo question tag, odnosno kratko pitanje, od ostatka rečenice i na kraju se uvijek nalazi znak pitanja. Here are some examples. She's smart, isn't she? This isn't she is the question tag for the sentence she's smart. They weren't here, were they? Were they is the question tag here. Brian speaks French, doesn't he? Doesn't he is the question tag for the sentence Brian speaks French. The next question that we need to answer is when we use question tags. We use question tags to check if something is true. Here is the example. The concert starts at 8 o'clock, doesn't it? In this case, we want to check if the information that we have is true, and this whole sentence can be replaced with the question. Does the concert start at 8 o'clock? The second usage is that we use question tags to ask for agreement, as in the example, it's a beautiful beach, isn't it? In this sentence, we do not want to check if something is true. We want the person we talk to agree with us. How are question tags formed? A question tag consists of an auxiliary or a modal verb and a personal pronoun which depends on the subject of the sentence. Dakle, question tag, odnosno kratko pitanje, se sastoji iz pomoćnog ili modalnog glagola koji zavisi od rečenice i od lične zamjenice koja uvek odgovara licu subjekta rečenice. Question tags can be either positive or negative. It depends on the form of the sentence. A positive statement is followed by a negative question tag. He is tall, isn't he? The sentence he is tall is a positive statement, and that's why we need to use isn't in the question tag, and we add he because the subject of the sentence is third person singular. If we have a negative statement, the question tag will be positive. She isn't young, is she? Isn't in the sentence becomes is in the question tag. Dakle, ovdje treba zapamtiti da je osnovno pravilo kod formiranja ovih kratkih pitanja, odnosno za svaki question tag, jeste da ukoliko je rečenica potvrdna, question tag će biti u odričnom obliku i obrnuto. Ako je rečenica odrična, imat ćemo potvrdan oblik u okviru ovog kratkog pitanja. I uvek nam je u odričnim rečenicama jednostavno sklonimo, odnosno isbrišemo ovo n''t i dobijemo odgovarajući oblik koji ćemo iskoristiti u okviru svakog ovog question taga. Let's look at some sentences in which we have the verb be as a main verb. The same rule. A positive statement is followed by a negative question tag. Here are some examples. Cindy is happy, isn't she? Is in the sentence becomes isn't in the question tag, and we add she. As you can see, we cannot use Cindy in the question tag. We always use the pronoun. They are hungry, aren't they? Are becomes aren't, and we add they at the end of the question tag. You were worried, weren't you? Were becomes weren't, and we add you. He was surprised, wasn't he? Was becomes wasn't, and we add the personal pronoun he. Now, if a negative statement is at the beginning, we will have a positive question tag. Let's look at the examples. Sarah isn't at school, is she? Isn't in the sentence becomes is, and we use she because the subject of the sentence is Sarah. So we cannot use Sarah in the sentence. So if we have a negative statement, we simply remove this N apostrophe T and we get the correct form for the question tag. We aren't tired, are we? Aren't becomes are, and we add we at the end of the statement. Tom wasn't sad, was he? Wasn't becomes was, and we use he because the subject of the sentence is Tom. They weren't ready, were they? Weren't becomes were, and we add they at the end of the question tag. In some of the sentences, we may have an auxiliary or a modal verb. Again, we have the same rule. A positive statement is followed by a negative question tag. Here are the examples. They have eaten the sandwiches, haven't they? Have becomes haven't, and we add they. She has arrived, hasn't she? Has becomes hasn't, and we add she to form the question tag. You had already sent the message, hadn't you? Had becomes hadn't, and we add the personal pronoun you. I will win, won't I? Treba biti pažljiv u rečenicama koje sadrže pomoćni glagol will i setiti se da je odričan oblik, odnosno skraćeni odričan oblik ovog pomoćnog glagola won't, kako se ne bi napravila čista greška koja se javlja u ovakvim slučajevima. We should go, shouldn't we? Again, should becomes shouldn't, and we add we. Tim would like to stay here, wouldn't he? Would becomes wouldn't, and we use he because Tim is the subject of the sentence. My friends could help me, couldn't they? Could in the sentence becomes couldn't in the question tag, and because the subject of the sentence is my friends, we use they in the question tag. So we cannot say couldn't my friends. It's always the pronoun. If we have a negative statement containing an auxiliary or a modal verb, we will have a positive question tag. They haven't taken my phone, have they? Haven't becomes have, and we add they. Jack hasn't finished the story, has he? Hasn't becomes has, and we add he because Jack is here the subject. She hadn't made pancakes before she left, had she? We have hadn't in the sentence, which is the negative form. That's why we need to remove this N apostrophe T, and we get had in the question tag and she as the correct pronoun here. I shouldn't eat sweets, should I? Shouldn't becomes should, and I is the correct pronoun for this question tag. We wouldn't like to stay, would we? Wouldn't becomes would, and we add we at the end of this question tag. You won't go with us, will you? As you remember, won't is the negative form, the short form for will not, so we use will in the question tag and you. Alice can't sing. Can she? Can't becomes can, and she is used in this question tag because Alice is the subject of the sentence. My brother couldn't find the keys. Could he? Couldn't becomes could, and we add he because my brother is here the subject. So we cannot say could my brother. Remember, it's always the appropriate pronoun. If the sentence is in the present simple tense, we use do or does in the question tag. Dakle, ukoliko je rečenica u present simple tensu, koristit ćemo do ili does, odnosno njihove odrične oblike u okviru odgovarajućeg question taga. Again, we have the same rule. If the statement is positive, the question tag will be negative. You like ice cream, don't you? She likes chocolate, doesn't she? How do we recognize the present simple in these sentences? It's because in the first sentence we have like, and in the second sentence we have likes, and that's how we know that is present simple, and we need to use don't or doesn't depending on the subject of the sentence. If we have a negative statement, we will have a positive question tag. They don't need apples, do they? John doesn't ride his bike very often, does he? So we form the question tag by simply removing this N apostrophe T and we add the pronoun. Dakle, kao i u svim odričnim rečenicama, jednostavnije je ovdje formirati odgovarajući question tag. To radimo jednostavnim brisanjem ovog N apostrof T i dobijemo odgovarajući oblik koji nam je potreban za ovo kratko pitanje na kraju. If the sentence is in the past simple, we use did in the question tag. Again, the same rule, a positive statement is followed by a negative question tag. Anne made the cake, didn't she? We prepared the snacks, didn't we? Kako u ovom slučaju prepoznajemo da se radi o rečenici, odnosno glagolu u past simple tensu? U prvoj rečenici imamo made, koji je zapravo simple tense, past simple, dakle glagola koji je nepravilan, glagola make, a u drugoj rečenici imamo past simple tense, glagola koji je pravilan i zato je dobio nastavak u ovom slučaju di. Dakle, ukoliko je rečenica potvrdna, a u past simple tensu je, koristit ćemo didn't bez obzira na lice, bez obzira na glagol i dodat ćemo odgovarajuću ličnu zamjenicu. If we have a negative statement, we will have a positive question tag. You didn't go to the zoo, did you? Didn't becomes did in the question tag, and we add the pronoun you. Liam didn't play tennis, did he? Didn't becomes did, and we add he because Liam is the subject of this sentence. There are some cases in which we must pay special attention. And remember that if we have am in the sentence, the form for the question tag will be aren't. I'm late, aren't I? It may sound strange or incorrect, but remember, whenever we have am in the sentence, we will have aren't in the question tag. With imperatives, here is the example. Go there, will you? So will you is the correct question tag for imperatives. With suggestions, we need to be careful. If the sentence starts with let's, we will have shall we as the correct question tag. Let's go to the cinema, shall we? And if the sentence starts with there is the word that will appear instead of a pronoun in the question tag. There aren't any ghosts, are there? Also, if a sentence contains one of the negative words, such as never, nobody, nothing, nowhere, or the words such as barely, hardly, the question tag is positive. Here are two examples. He can barely talk, can he? There is nothing we can do, is there? Notice that we do not have can't in the first sentence in the question tag, and we do not use isn't in the second sentence, although we have is in the first part. That's because nothing is the word which makes the sentence negative, although the auxiliary verb is without that N apostrophe T. It's time for practice. In the first exercise, you need to read each of these sentences carefully and try to decide which is the correct question tag for each sentence, A, B, or C. The first sentence. Kate bought a new armchair for the living room. What's the correct question tag for this sentence? Is it A, did she, B, didn't she, or C, didn't Kate? The correct question tag is didn't she. This sentence is in the past simple tense. We have the verb bought in the sentence and it's a positive statement. That's why we need to use didn't, and we use she because the subject of the sentence is Kate. Number 2. I'm a good student. What's the correct question tag for this sentence? Is it A, isn't he, B, aren't I, or C, am I? The correct answer here is aren't I. Am always becomes aren't in the question tag. Number 3. Come and help me with the dishes. What do you think is the correct question tag for this sentence? Is it will you, shall we, or do you? The correct answer here is will you. This is the imperative, and in each imperative we use will you in the question tag. Number 4. Your brother can't speak Chinese. What's the correct question tag here? Is it doesn't he, can he, or can't he? What do you think? The correct question tag here is can he. We had can't. That's why we need can in the question tag, and we use he because the subject of the sentence is your brother. Number 5. There's a torch somewhere in the basement. What is the correct question tag here? Is it A, isn't it? B, isn't there? Or C, is it? The correct answer is isn't there. Number 6. It's Sunday today. What do you think is the correct answer for this one? Isn't there? Isn't it? Or is it? The correct answer here is isn't it? And the last example in this exercise, Susan loves oranges. Do you remember the rule? What do you think is the correct answer for this sentence? Is it does she, is she, or doesn't she? It's doesn't she. Susan loves oranges is the sentence in the present simple tense. And that's why we use doesn't. The sentence is positive, the positive statement, and we add she because the subject of the sentence is Susan. The next exercise, you need to complete the following sentences. Each sentence needs a question tag at the end. Read the sentences carefully and try to guess the correct question tag for each one of them. The first one, you went to the park yesterday. The correct answer is didn't you. The sentence is in the past simple and it's a positive statement. That's why we need didn't plus you in the question tag. The second one, Brian isn't scared. What do you think is the answer here? The correct question tag here is he. Isn't becomes is, and we add he because the subject of the sentence is Brian. Number 3, your sister has been to India. What is the correct question tag here? It's hasn't she. Has becomes hasn't, and she because the subject of this sentence is your sister. Number 4, my friends won't go to the cinema tonight. Try to remember and to guess the correct question tag for this sentence. Will they is the correct answer here. Won't becomes will, and we use they because the subject of this sentence is my friends. There is a bank near here. What might the correct question tag be here? The correct answer is isn't there. Number 6, let's play basketball. What do you think should the question tag in this sentence be? The answer is shall we. 7, pass the sugar. Try to guess the correct question tag here. And the correct answer here is will you. And the last example in this exercise, they live here. What do you think is the correct answer for this sentence? The correct answer is don't they. This sentence is in the present simple tense and it's the positive statement, and we need don't, and we add they as the pronoun of the question tag. In the last exercise for this lesson, you will need to correct the following sentences. Each of the sentences contains mistake 1 or 2. In the question tag part, you need to read the sentences carefully and try to correct the question tags. Let's start. The first sentence, I'm good at art, isn't I? Now, what is wrong with this isn't I? Why isn't that the correct question tag? What do you think? The correct sentence is, I'm good at art, aren't I? The next one, number 2, Ben hasn't got a black cat, hasn't Ben? Now, something is wrong with this hasn't Ben. Can you guess what? The correct question tag or the correct sentence is Ben hasn't got a black cat, has he? So we cannot use hasn't if the sentence is negative, and we cannot use Ben in the question tag. We need the appropriate pronoun, which is he in this case. Number 3, you took my book, did you? Now, why is this question tag here, did you, incorrect? The correct sentence is, you took my book, didn't you? Didn't must be in this question tag because the sentence is positive, and we add you at the end of this question tag. Number 4, his parents work here, do they? This do they in this sentence is incorrect. What do you think should be the question tag for this sentence? The correct sentence is, his parents work here, don't they? Why is that? Because his parents work here is the positive statement. And if the statement is positive, we need the negative question tag. And for this sentence is, don't they? Number 5, Kelly lives next to Sam, isn't she? Why is this question tag here incorrect? And what do you think is the correct form here? Kelly lives next to Sam, isn't she? Is not the correct form. And the answer is, Kelly lives next to Sam, doesn't she? For your homework, complete the following dialogue. Read the sentences carefully and try to guess what is the correct question tag and complete the sentences by filling the blanks. That's all for today. Goodbye.